Citizen observatories have great potential to monitor forest and landscape restoration. They involve citizens in monitoring the environment, often by collecting data using smartphones and sensors built into these, and then converting these data into information to support citizen involvement in environmental management. In this talk, I'll look at key features of citizen observatories, how they work in practice, and how they can be used to monitor forest and landscape restoration. So, what are citizen observatories? They are any use of Earth observation technology in which citizens collect data and are empowered by the information generated from these data to participate in environmental management. The concept was devised by the European Commission. Citizen observatories have four distinctive features, namely bidirectional information flows, so that citizens provide and receive information. New citizen functions, for example, manipulating information to meet their own needs. Support for multi-scalar environmental governing and citizen participation in this, and complementarity with other forms of remote and ground-based monitoring. Citizen observatories are the latest phase in the evolution of citizen science, which involves partnerships between volunteers that answer real-world questions. The history of citizen science goes back to at least 1900. Citizen observatories differ from citizen science in three ways. The information they generate must directly benefit citizens and society generally, rather than science alone, as in citizen science. Citizen observatories have a more practical focus than citizen science, which so far has had relatively few practical applications. And most citizen science projects are only contributory projects which scientists design and to which citizens contribute data. Ideally, all citizen observatories will be co-created projects in which citizens are full partners from design to dissemination. Citizen observatories are part of a wider expansion of participatory environmental monitoring. For example, they involve research for and by the people, and so form a bridge between citizen science and community science, which is science for the people. They are a new type of crowdsourcing called crowdsensing, in which individuals with sensing and computing devices collectively share data and extract information to measure and map phenomena of common interest. Citizen observatories have five principal components: citizen volunteers, smartphones, other instruments for collecting data, databases, and website portals for inputting data and disseminating information. Citizen observatory operations can be illustrated by five pilot projects funded by the European Commission in 2012. In COBWEB, citizens used smartphones to input data on species distributions in biosphere reserves using standard data entry forms and background maps. These data were then sent to the project website with data on environmental variables measured by wireless sensor networks. In OmniScientist, citizens use smartphones to input data on their perceptions of odors linked to a pig farm and factory, complementing data measured by wireless sensor networks. In WeSenseIt, improved information on flood risks was gained by using wireless sensor networks to measure various stages of the water cycle, and smartphones operated by citizens to input data on river levels by scanning barcodes on gauge boards. CitySense monitored urban air quality by combining wireless sensor networks with smartphones to measure levels of particulates. and Cyclops, citizens used smartphones to monitor marine water quality by measuring pollutant concentration from the color of water and algal density from levels of fluorescence. Ongoing observatories funded by the Horizon 2020 programme are monitoring land use and land cover, urban and rural environmental indicators, and soil moisture on farms. Citizen observatories complement remote sensing methods through their distinctive operational features. For example, they monitor the environment on the ground, not above ground. They monitor environmental features using sensors that are close to features instead of far away. In other words, proximal sensing, not remote sensing. Whereas satellites use single sensors to collect data on a given area automatically every week or so, in citizen observatories, large numbers of sensors collect data at the discretion of people on a daily basis if necessary. Citizens can be more selective than remote sensors in data they collect, so they can monitor ash trees in preference to other species, or only monitor ash trees suffering from a disease, not all ash trees. Remote sensing data are collected by a satellite sensor in bite-sized chunks called images. But in citizen observatories, data collected by many sensors must be combined and integrated using sophisticated website technology. Citizen observatories can ground truth satellite image classification, and citizen sensors can be intermediate nodes in channeling signals from automated sensors, for example, those on buoys floating in the sea. Earlier this year, I published a new conceptual framework for Earth observation, which can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of citizen observatories, remote sensing methods, and drones. Citizen observatories can complement remote sensing methods in monitoring forest and landscape restoration projects, since they're better at monitoring certain subjects. These include subjects with challenging horizontal features. For example, large numbers of scattered individual trees in dry areas rather than trees bunched together in closed canopy forests in wetter areas. Species of trees can be identified and mapped by people, aided by reference keys in smartphone software. Other horizontal features important in soil restoration projects include gullies, earth walls, terraces, etc. While the actual positions of horizontal features can be measured by smartphone GPS instruments, they can also be identified by satellite sensors with a very high resolution of less than 1 meter. These images are now available on the Google Earth website. Subjects with important vertical features, such as the height of a tree. These can be measured using sensors and software on smartphones, for example, the Relosphone software app. Measuring changes in tree height is important in forest restoration projects. Subjects which require selective management, for example, the national distribution of all individuals of just one tree species. Consequently, citizen observatories can combine information on horizontal, vertical, and selective features to map trends in soil and vegetation restoration that reverse earlier soil and vegetation degradation. Lessons learned over many years in citizen science projects can be used to construct guidelines for good practice for citizen observatories. For example, establishing a citizen observatory requires the motivation of a large group of volunteers, and citizen observer technologies should facilitate this. People will be motivated to participate by a desire to contribute to science, belong to a community with similar interests, collect, contribute, and publish data online, learn more about a particular subject or place, make new discoveries by analyzing their data themselves online, and have fun. Technologies are also crucial for recruiting and retaining citizens. Citizen Observatory websites should be user-friendly so that registering as a volunteer is easy. they should also be compatible with user skills. So instead of relying exclusively on citizens to identify a tree species, they could also report tree attributes, which experts can use to confirm the species. Continuous monitoring is possible only if many individuals repeat their practices regularly. Retention will be encouraged if websites give citizens continual feedback on the scientific and management outcomes of their contributions. The accuracy of citizen observatories will rise if volunteers are trained beforehand, use technologies comprising standard methods designed by professionals and field tested by citizens in realistic conditions, and are trained on the job by smartphone software. Good websites have software that automatically evaluates data quality and gives feedback to volunteers, has tools to support analysis, modeling, and decision making, and can exchange data with other databases. A successful citizen observatory will communicate information effectively to those who need it to support environmental management. So citizens should know what information their fellow citizens need and make it easy for them to access information outputs. All 5 pilot European observatories establish user-friendly web portals to disseminate data they collected and information derived from these data. To conclude, citizen observatories have great potential to monitor forest and landscape restoration projects. Their resolution is suited to the small scale of these projects, and control by local people will ensure that information on progress is readily available to other citizens, easy to share with donors and other stakeholders, and capable of inspiring greater efforts in future.